Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Thursday. I'm Leslie Watkins. So I've got a really fun project to work on today. I am in a international tag exchange, and I'm going to be making a series of tags to send to different designers around the world. I'm really excited about it, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do, but I want to make a tag that has a smaller tag tucked into it. So today what I'm going to do is share with you my idea for the smaller tag. And I'm going to be using a couple of different stamp sets. So I've got the Night of Flight, which features these beautiful moths, and I love moths. So I was very excited to see this in the new catalog. This is actually a hostess set. So if you are interested in hosting a party with your friends, maybe you want to have some friends over for some wine and snacks and make some cards or tags, whatever you like, you could earn this stamp set for free. And if you're interested in doing any of those things, let me know. We can talk over Zoom, and I will walk you through the process. So just go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com, and you can send me an email, you can direct message me, but you can find out a little more information there, and we can talk. So anyway, so that's the hostess set. Then I've got the Alpha Best set, and this is, as you can see, letters and numbers and also various punctuation symbols. And it also has these cute little decorations because this actually corresponds to a tiny punch. So you could punch out the individual letters. I'm not going to be doing that today. And then finally, I pulled out my old Very Versailles set. This is one of those stamp sets that, even though it's retired, I will never put it away because it's such an excellent designer's set. And it has wonderful sentiments. It has a cartouche. I'm going to be using it for this background script. And I think I'm going to use this decorative element as well. I have out a handful of inks here. So I've got the Wild Wheat Pecan Pie and the Copper Clay. So that's going to be my palette. I'm going to be doing a little bit of inking and painting with ink. I have the textured ribbon, and this is the one that coordinates with the Wild Wheat. So I'll be using that at the end for the tails on my tag, and I'll probably use some linen thread as well. And I'm going to be making my tag out of this 140-pound watercolor paper. This is the Fluid 100 paper. It comes in a 10-pack. This measures 5 by 7. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down into 3 equal pieces. So for that, I'm going to need my trimmer. And here's a tip. Sometimes if you're not sure, hold on just a minute, let me just make sure that we're broadcasting here. And yeah, there we go. Hi Kelly, hi Beverly. Good to see you ladies. I hope you're having a nice day. So what I do, because 7 is going to be tricky to divide into 3, I just use the metrics. They're so much easier. So if I just measure from the top of my trimmer, because let me get a pointer here, because what we have here are millimeters and centimeters as well as inches. So I can just use the millimeters and centimeters, and that's about 18 centimeters. So if I divide 18 by 3, that's going to give me 6 perfectly. So that's what I'm going to use for my measurement. So I'm just going to tuck my corner of my paper right here. I'll zoom you in so you can see a little bit better. That would help. Okay, so I'm looking at the 6, which is right here. So if I just line that up, cut that at 6, go to the next one, cut that at 6, that's going to give me 3 equal pieces. All right, one's a slight bit off, but that's okay, it's close enough. Then I also have my tag punch here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my corner, so this is the corner I'm using, this one. So I'm going to put the corner of my tag firmly in there, get that so that it butts up to these stops, give that a press, flip my tag over because I want it to be symmetrical, and there I have a very nicely shaped tag top. And then I can also spin this around, get this as close to center as I can, give that a punch, and now I've got a place for my ribbon. So this is a very nice tag punch to have, and of course you can cut your triangular edges off as well if you choose to do that. So this is my base, and as I said, this is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, so it has a nice stiffness and it's going to hold up really well. I'm going to begin with my pecan pie, and this is one of the new colors that is in our neutral color family. It's a very nice color, and I've already gone ahead and I've mounted up my letters. I just lost a couple of them. Let's get them back on there again. I'll zoom you out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just lining up my clear block. I've got some lines on my surface here, so I can just line up my letters as if it were a letterpress or a letter set, which is used by printers, and I know because my father was a printer. And I can just get that all lined up, and I can look at it, make sure it looks okay. And the word that I have mounted on here is change. And actually, you know what? I forgot about that border. I want to put a border. I'm going to do another one. So I'm just going to grab another card, and this time I want to use this border from the Very Versailles. I want that along the bottom. So I'm going to line up my paper. It's a little crooked. Okay, I don't mind that it's a little bit crooked. That's all right. And now I'll put my word. Okay. While I have the ink out, I'll go ahead and I'll do a moth as well. So there's the moth, and the moth is a symbol of transformation and change, and so that's why I chose that. All right, now I'll go back to my punch, put back my topper, get that straight in the center. All right, so there we go. That's what I'm working with. And also, I want to use this Very Versailles script in the background here. So for that, I'm going to stamp off. And if you're new to stamping, what I mean by that is I'm going to be using a second generation stamp. So I'm going to use my scrap paper, ink up my stamp, and then stamp once on my scrap paper, and then once again in the background. So it gives me a very faint, sort of almost a textural effect with the print. Alright, now with a water painter, and this is just a paintbrush that has the water in the handle, I'm going to squeeze a drop of water down into the brush. So there it is. And I'm just going to use plain water to just to bring the paint or the ink from the stamped image around, just to give that a little bit of a tone and to soften those lines a little bit. There we go. Then I'm going to go into my wild wheat color, and I have a little bit of ink, a couple of drops on the lid of my stamp case, so I can just grab that, and I'm going to use that in this area. Like so. Next, I'm going to grab my copper clay. And I'm just going to let that kind of fade out. Same down here. So the water-based inks that you see me using work beautifully as watercolors. So you use them just the same as you would use your watercolors. If you don't have watercolors and you have the water-based inks, you're good to go. And if you are not confident with your watercoloring ability, you may want to subscribe to my newsletter Notes from DandelionCottageDesign.com, because I am going to be offering a beginning watercolor class, especially for stampers, but really for anybody. And I'm going to go through all of the basics and share with you the fundamentals that you need to know to be able to paint well. So if that's something that is of interest, make sure that you subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage. I'll have that link below and after I do the video. And you will be getting the notice in your email about when the class is, how to sign up, and what you'll need. It's an online class, and there will be a live Zoom so that you can ask questions and share your work and get some help if you'd like. All right, so there's the beginning of my moth. Now I'm not done, but I'm going to let that dry for a second. While that's drying, I'm going to get my scrap paper back out again. And now I'm going to use my blending brush, and I'm going to go around the edges. I'm going to use pecan pie again for this. And all I'm going to do is sort of pounce my blending brush in the ink, and then starting away from the paper, I'm going to move in circular motions and then get closer and closer so I get a nice smooth edge. I'm going to make my way around. I'm starting in the corners first. And then gradually fading into a softer, lighter tone as I get closer to the moth. And you can do as many layers of this as you choose until you get it to just the right tone that you like. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit on the back side so it doesn't look so stark. A little extra on the corners. And I'm done. Okay, so here's what we've got so far, and I want to add a little bit extra to my moth. Now, oftentimes when you look at moths in nature, you'll notice that they occasionally have a bright rusty kind of reddish area to them. So for that, I'm just going to grab my palette with ink on it, and I'm just going to pick up whatever red this is. I think this might be a mixture of a couple of different things, but it's sort of like a real red, maybe a little bit of the cherry cobbler, and I'm going to use that on the body. Get that nice and rich for that beautiful tone. And let's see. I'm going to put a little sort of a stripe along the bottom wings or the hind wings. Just like so. And maybe a couple of spots and I'm just going to put a little echo through here. Okay, so there we go. I'm done with this. And for my ribbon, this is the wild wheat. So I'm just going to take a length of that. Give that a snip on the diagonal. Thread that through. That's probably a little more than I need for this tag because it's not a very big tag. Hold on, let me get my zoom under control. There we go. And then using my linen thread, let's take a little piece of that. I'm just going to tie this in a knot. So I'm making a double knot here, kind of a square knot. And I'm gonna leave those tails for now. And the last thing I want to do, actually before I get there, I want to make this a little bit darker. So I'm going back to my copper clay. And I just want to get into these areas. That's better. There we go. The ink dries a little bit lighter, just like watercolor. So you may have to, once it's dry, you may want to go back in and add a couple of touches to get that the way you want it. Okay, I'm happy with that now. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I have out the Metallic Enamel Effects Basics. So this is part of a set. It comes in silver, gold, and copper. I've pulled out, the copper one, and it comes in a pack of 3. And there's a lot in here. And so what I want to do is I just want to dot around in a couple of areas on the moth's wings to give it a little bit of an accent. So I'm going to go into these spots like so. I'm going to add some dots on the edge here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna add a couple more dots down below here. 1, 2. All right, so that is my project for today. I hope that gave you some ideas. Let me get this on here so that you can see it better. There we go. So the metallic effects you want to let dry, and it takes a couple hours, I would say, to let it dry. Just to be safe, what I do is I put it up overnight so that I can be certain that the next day it's going to be very dry. And you can see, I think, that it gives the spots a beautiful dimension. So they're like these little dome-shaped, let me see if I can see that. So little dome-shaped decorations. And what's nice about using this liquid embellishment is that when you're using the watercolor paper, which has a lot of texture on it, an embellishment that has a glue dot attached to it may not stick as well because of the texture, whereas this liquid is going to get down into all of those little nooks and crannies. So I'm just going to check and see if anybody has anything they want to add. Sandra says uneven. I'm not sure what you're talking about. You're probably talking about my my crooked stamping. Ginger likes the color. Which color, Ginger? The copper? Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you very much for watching. And please make sure that you subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage, because there's going to be a big announcement going out shortly. And I don't want you to miss the special offer. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative. Get outside and paint and enjoy nature, and I will see you next time.